Hey, what's up, guys? And oh boy, was this episode dumb, and not just in more character assassinations of Master Chief. And I honestly don't know what else they can do to ruin him. They basically have him running around naked, crying about his emotions while he's fisting himself. But this episode had so many inconsistencies, even more so than usual. But before I get into it, if you could like, comment, and sub, that would be awesome. Let's start off at the beginning with the Chief and the Covenant spy. We're taking a walk in the park for I have no idea how this happened, because she would still be considered to be at least an unknown, even like if she wasn't considered a full right enemy. So I don't know why they would just let her walk around with Chief, and they somehow managed to sneak away to have a secret conversation about the Halo. And this would have should have clued Chief in that she knows way more than she leads on. But he just he's got his sim glasses on, and he's just like, oh, okay. And then we get some scenes of Chief trying to convince Black Keys and the strong Indian lady that she's the only one that can do it, and I can't because I have a penis. They and he informs them that he was able to break his indoctrination somehow, so I guess she can too. I don't remember that happening anywhere in Halo, but okay. But and then they had the pink hair Spartan girl doing some strength challenges with, I don't know, just outshining like every other Marine. It kind of makes sense because she's enhanced and everything, but I don't see the point. It was just like so random. Was this supposed to make us like her more, or was this like her doing the challenges to make her more likable? I don't know. I hate every character in here, and just like, I don't know, having her lift heavy things doesn't change my mind about her. And now we come to the worst thing I've ever seen a show ever do to a character. Chief and the Covenant spy have sex, and how does this even happen? Like, first off, the room would have been so heavily watched. This would have been impossible. Like, why didn't they have the guard bring one of those mind teleport things they had in that previous episode where they had Halsey being watched by the Keys and the other girl, the Indian girl there? But I guess they only have that for Halsey, but not the enemy spy. Huh. Okay. And then they're having sex while Cortana's watching the back like a cuckold. And I'll say I did laugh at that part because it was pretty funny to watch her with like the sad face. Pretty much how I imagine most cuckolds' face they have, I guess. But other than that, it was just another nail in the coffin for this iconic character. And honestly, I don't know what else they can do to ruin him. They've literally stripped him down, butt ass naked, fisting himself, crying about his emotion, literally flying off the handle and attacking people. That like Halsey incident in particular. So I don't know why I'm surprised that he's having sex with an enemy spy. I would have liked to at least see him having sex with like the Arbor, at least, because at least that would have been weird and funny. But maybe that's for season 2. And now she's falling in love with him now, because you see her later just like rip out her mini energy sword in her finger, because I don't know why. I just because you think you always want that, like, even though you're not planning to like betray them, you're like, oh, I'm conflicted now. But that's kind of a neat little weapon to always have, and like something they can't, a lot of people wouldn't know about. So I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. And then you have this gaping hole bleeding everywhere. No one noticed that at all. You have this big hole in your finger now that you didn't have before, so no one did anything. But no one questioned it. Okay. And then how did no one ask what happened all night there, Chief? Because there's still that guard sitting outside, at least. Don't know why there's no cameras or anything in that room, because there clearly was later, because Halsey projects herself in there trying to convince her that she needs to bring the artifact to her. So obviously there's the projections and they can videotape it, but for whatever reason they're not recording it, or they just let Chief have at her for whatever reason. Kind of makes no sense. This whole scene to make this happen, there's so many things that don't make sense of why, like, how this happened. Anyway, so there would have been a guard standing outside for, I think he would have said, Chief's been in there for like 8 hours now. Anyway, since there's been no tension in this episode so far, we need to drum some up with Halsey all of a sudden being rushed out the door, so she has to leave Reach by some arbitrary hour, and so she has to rush her plans to take the artifact. So she sends out her Spartans to get the artifact and Chief, and we got some okay action there. And that's one good thing I can say about this show. The action scenes are all done fairly well, like something I could see like right out of the video game. But the show is just bogged down with all this dumb storytelling, boring characters, or just terribly written ones, and they're more worried about checking boxes over any like character development, painting all the white people as bad or unstable or having to be saved. And speaking of, I don't know why Cortana all of a sudden changed alliances with Chief. There was kind of no reason for this, but sure. And we had that pink-haired Spartan girl saving him. I'm sure we'll see her with like Miranda soon enough, because I'm guessing that's kind of going to be her story arc. She removed her emotional chip and now she's feeling things and she wants to start munching carpet. And then, speaking of, Miranda breaks the code transmission she's been trying to figure out this whole episode. All of a sudden, there wasn't a really eureka moment you see in like other shows. She just kind of thinks. There's nothing like that happened. She just kind of heard it, and then all of a sudden it clicked in. Oh no, it was a Covenant spy who sent that, shockingly. How can this be? And then when they try to arrest the Covenant spy girl, she betrays them. Wow, great writing, guys. And I really just didn't expect that to happen. And now I guess the artifact has a new power. It can teleport people now, I guess. So we got these made up powers out of nowhere now. Because the way this episode ends, you see her just saying like, "Bye, Chief," and like, I don't remember the artifact ever teleporting anybody. I mean, I guess it can, because I guess there's a history of reach of Forerunner artifacts being able to like transport people, but I don't know. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not happy with this show. So like, when they introduce stuff like this, and it just doesn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense how both of them can, when one touches the artifact, they both can just see it. Like, I don't get that link. That link doesn't make sense. Because they have some gene or something. You think like all this time they were doing this with the Covenant spy girl, like I guess they were training her how to use other artifacts. So I mean, that's why she has a bit more advantage. But you think that Chief would have known something was wrong. It doesn't. This whole thing of them having a connection when one of them touches the artifact really just messes it up, because she would have had all this training, with the artifacts. You think Chief would have been seeing this or being teleported or whatever, but there's no history of it. It doesn't make any sense. If he was maybe like a lot younger, maybe, but it's still like in the world of Halo, it just doesn't make sense at all. So them having this thing where they connect when they touch the artifact, it doesn't, it really just makes the writing like really sticky, and there's this huge plot hole in it now that just like, why do you have to have it? Just, I don't know. Man, okay, we come to the end of the episode, and I'm glad that this is almost over. Because there's so many things in this show that just don't make sense at all. And for a Halo show, I can hardly tell it's a Halo show. There's a few things that just remind you of Halo. It's more like they throw in member berries. It's just like, oh, here's the Chief, and we'll throw in the Halo game sound effects. But if you're not going to pull from any of the lore from the Halo games or anything, like, why bother using the sound effects other than just for the few people that... Just like, oh, I remember that sound. Oh, it's Halo. But like, it's not. Like, none of it's Halo. Like, there's been nothing really in Halo other than you see some enemies or anything. We still haven't seen a ghost. Where's the ghost? You haven't seen any ghosts. I'm surprised we haven't seen any ghosts at all. Yeah, we've seen some warthogs and a few other things, but I don't know. It's just what I was saying before. Like, for a Halo show, I can hardly tell this is Halo. And like, for the money they spent on this, I can't believe how down this is. We got a show that most writers nowadays just can't write anything good. And thank God, like I said, thank God we only have one episode left. And hopefully there isn't any more after this, because it's really hard watching this. And honestly, I don't know how they can afford it, because I think I read somewhere that each one of these episodes is like $10 million or $1 million, or I think $1 million to make. So or 10, I can't remember. It's 1 or 10. I know it's a big difference, but just how do you afford that? That's a lot, and your show it's crap. Like, the writers you got for this make no sense on the story they're trying to tell. Like, I think the end is going to be the Fall of Reach, but the Fall of Reach was already really good. Why don't you just literally copy Halo Reach? That game was awesome. And honestly, I think that you could put together all the cutscenes in that game, and it would be literally better than what we got in this show. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for listening.